If the first thing is all there is, and a second thing happens, it's entirely because of the first thing. First thing didn't break itself in two and stayed with one part remaining the first thing and the other part starting out as the second thing. That just doesn't add up. The first thing would have changed. There is no change to the first thing. Should that be another statement? Well, it kind of goes along with the territory of being one, don't you think? Think it through. Oh, I got a lot to think about here. The first thing, if it does not change, ever, it's the only thing that's always been. There's nothing else in its league. I'm talking about existing. The whole ball of wax. I'm not talking about some little part of the universe that's the first thing in that little part of the universe. I'm talking about existing. Period. All this thinking hurts. One first thing. It's a pretty incredible thought. I know it is. It's just plain unbelievable. Absolutely. The only thing is, it's the only logical option. That's the only option that logic leaves us. Reason, common sense, just plain logic. That's all I'm saying. One first thing. So now we're underlining things that come from thinking it over, such as there is no equal to it. Of course, reason, it has no superior. There is no thing coming along influencing this first thing, pushing it, pulling it, changing it. It's all alone. And you know, that's the way it always was. So it's not even lonely. Lonely is when, lonely is when I've been with a person or people that I share stuff with, share memories with, and then all of a sudden I gotta leave, or they gotta leave, or death takes them. That's lonely. That's loneliness. But one first thing, with all the stuff that being one means, being whole, being independent, being self-sustaining, well, there's no place for lonely there. Here's another reason why there's no place for lonely in the first thing. Because nothing can be on par with it. Let's not use nothing so easily. There is no thing that can ever be on par with it. So, in a very real sense, in the most real sense of all, it has something, it is something that it cannot share with any other thing, with anyone. The quality of always existing. The quality of not having come from some other thing. There is no thing equal to it that can force a change upon it. It's always been, so why should it change? Last of all, we should address the question, could it change if it wanted to? We haven't come to the conclusion yet, but let's just suppose it's a living thing, a being, something with a mind, with an awareness. And it wakes up one morning and says, I'm just a little bit disgusted with myself. I feel like I should have been this way or that back there a while ago. I'm going to turn over a new leaf. I'm going to be this way instead of the way I was. Putting my foot down. I'm making a line in the sand. I'm taking a vow. What do you think? Well, for sure that kind of stuff applies to us because we have interplay with a lot of other things and a lot of other people. Sometimes we don't come across the way we want to, and sometimes we don't come across the way they want us to, and they matter enough to us that we figure, well, okay, I'll change. Pray for me. Help me through this. But one thing that's always been, one first thing, gee, you would think that something that's been forever can do anything it wants. Let's focus just a bit more on the question, could it change if it wanted? You know, the picture that comes to mind. What's that? Picture of a rock on a teeter-totter. Yeah. And it wants to change. It wants to get to the other side. Yeah. Matter of fact, it'll compromise. Just to be up there rather than down on the ground would make its day. Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, of course, it needs a heavier rock on the other side to get up there. Yeah, see what you mean. Who was it that said, give me a place to stand and I will move the earth? In other words, a lever that if you put it here, wait a minute. If you put it there and you got 1,000 pounds that you want to lift, you can lift it with, let's see, 10 to 1. You can lift it with 100 pounds of weight there, right? Even if something was way less weight than that first thing. If it was far distant enough, they could move that first thing by just being a little bitty thing over here. Yeah, but there's no other things that exist. Could it change if it wanted to? It would have to be kind of divided. This is what the reason is saying, as far as I can hear it. It would have to be somewhat divided just to be able to change, to be possibly able to change. It would have to be somewhat divided. One part versus another part. And this part wants to change, and the other part, well, the part that's going to change. It's going to have to change. But the one first thing is one. It's whole. It's entire. It's always been, and it's kept on going. Kind of putting my foot out a little bit by saying this, but it's never needed anything along the way. Any change at all to keep on going. That might not satisfy all the media and the reporters out there. Well, can't change. It's kind of a thing to underline. I mean, if we're supposed to be studying, we can get way overboard and say, we can't even understand it. We can't understand such things. There is no force that the first thing encounters. Doesn't spit out a second thing. There is no need the first thing encounters that requires a second thing. The only way number two comes on down is if the first thing wants it and has the power to make it happen. The only things that we see, that we experience, that we have evidence for, of being that kind of thing, that wishes, that wills, that desires, and that has the power to make it happen. Well, top of the line anyway, are persons. For the first thing to always exist, one first thing, completely independent, having no need, you're talking about a person that's a lot more of a person than most persons you encounter, that you would ever encounter. That guy's got bearing. He is making a second thing happen, and he has nothing with which to make it happen. sun coming out. There is no why to the first thing, because a why would precede the first thing, if there was a why to it. Yeah, you're pretty sharp here. I appreciate it. I think we're just right about ready to blast off. Why? A second thing. Can we just walk up to the first thing and ask it why? Let's leave these dogs aside. Let's just go straight to the source. What do you say? What do you say? Well, that might be okay for us too. But there's going to be people coming along that say they just threw away common sense. Once they got to this certain point, they told the dogs to head home. They're just going to go, what? They're going to go on blind faith now. Forget that. Oh, I think we got to stick with the dogs. Well, if the first thing is a person, then it should be able to stand up for itself and speak up for itself and lay out a record of its doings. Don't you think? Tell you to think it through now. I see your point. And in fact, it makes sense. Man, that's something to think over before we take one step further, isn't it? Yeah. The first thing knows why. The second thing came about, why it did it. I think I have a bit of an answer. Not a complete answer. Like all my answers are not complete answers. They're just what logic dictates, and that's all I'm saying. But here's a point. That we only came to the realization the first thing was a person by considering the second thing. See what I mean? Yeah. I think so. The only way we found out, just by our dogs, logic and reason, common sense, that the first thing as a person is considering how a second thing happened at all. So there's our answer right there. The first thing wanted to show itself, wished to put on a show. Wanted to show himself, the man behind the curtain.